and subscribe.
Hit that like button.
Hit that like
Make sure
and
y'all comment
That's
below if
subscribe.
there's any topics y'all want to hear. Yeah, all that stuff.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
That's what's up.
So today episode, we're gonna talk about the lifestyle of an indie. You know what it takes to be an indie artist. Some of the stress, some of the pros and the cons of being an indie artist. We're gonna dive into that right now. And first off, I would ask Dale, Dale, what's your definition of an indie? What's your understanding of an indie?
Indie is someone that is handling all aspects of the business by himself or with a small team, just navigating the industry that they're in, dolo, so to speak. So like, yeah, that's my definition of an indie.
That's a lot of work.
It is, right?
Many hats. Yeah, you're managing, you're doing your social media, you're doing your financing. What else? Marketing, yeah.
Oh man.
And just to add,
Handling.
Creating. Oh my gosh.
just to add to what Vegas is saying is that like it's basically someone who's independent. Even if you're an artist, you're a creative, you're a business owner, you have a food store, whatever you do, once you're independent, that all ties into being an indie. And at some point, any one of us, we get the opportunity to be an indie, whether it's whether it's business, whether it's talent or whatever it is, you get to be an indie in some form or the other though. But again, and the thing about being an indie now, you can be an indie and then there's the side of being corporate or even being on a major when we're talking about let's dive into like being an artist or something like that, artist or creative or anything like that. There is
Like
that
a musician.
yeah,
That kind
there's
of thing, right?
there's that the pros and cons of being an indie versus being someone that's signed or or working for a corporation or anything like that. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit still, yo? As far as the difference between
indie and corporate?
Yeah.
Well, corporate or the machine. Corporate is just the people that want to own your stuff, right? Like if you're, some people, they become very successful as indies and the corporate come into the picture and they say, hey, Krispy Kreme, I like what you did, here's a contract. Let me buy out your building and let me buy out your rights, And, some little guys, that been struggling because, indies struggle. Independent people struggle for sometimes years, decades, centuries. They'd be like, okay, fine. Give me 100 million, you can have it, right? And then the machine takes over. But then when the machine takes over, sometimes the quality suffers.
Correct.
And that's in all forms of
Correct.
business that we talk about, right?
I would add
go ahead.
to what you're saying in terms of like the money. Like let's say that you're coming up, you don't really have a whole lot of money, for example, whatnot, and then they want to give you advance, like you said, let's say 100 grand. In hindsight, that's a lot of money because you've never seen it.
Yeah, exactly.
But on the back end, they're expecting that money back, plus profit
definitely.
off of what you're doing. So it's and so what happens if you're not selling? What happens?
You know what's a good example of that? Have you seen the New Edition movie? You see what happened to them?
Yes,
Yeah.
Holy.
yeah. That's rough.
Yeah,
yo.
they got screwed still.
But a lot of them back then, especially in that era, they didn't know any better, right?
Yeah.
So they would sign these deals,
Yeah,
and
a lot of
the
them.
corporations have their masters, and they can do whatever they feel like with the masters because they could score for movies, commercials, etc. And the artist is not getting anything really out of it, right?
And it's because of the reimbursement. It's because they give them an advance, but you have to pay back your advance.
Yeah.
But that's what they don't tell them, right?
No.
And then they give them their lawyers.
Yeah.
And also just but
It goes on and on and on.
It goes on
it goes deep. It goes deep.
And just even recently, Anita Baker, she has that problem dealing with right now when it comes to her label that she was signed to probably 30, 35 years ago, where they don't want to release her masters to her, and she has to be in court with them trying to get back her masters, and it's a big issue right now in the music industry. Right now, it's a big issue. We heard about Kanye, we heard about even Tory Lanez, we heard about a lot of artists.
So
right
many
now.
of them.
Taylor Swift,
Yeah.
that lost their masters to their company, or their masters got sold to a company without their even
Without the
knowing
knowledge.
or even getting the opportunity to buy it back. And that's the hard part about it, though.
Yes.
Because some of these artists, they have the budget, they have the money to buy back, but
Yeah.
At least give them the chance to buy it back first.
no.
Right?
No, they're
Yeah,
not doing that.
I think that would have been fair, but
And that's just a lot that comes with the difference between being an indie and working with a corporation or being signed to a major label, and there's a lot of pros and cons. Like I would say, if we're talking about pros and cons, what would you say is one of the pros being an indie artist versus being a artist that's signed to a label?
Well, one of the pros is just owning your own stuff, like being able to control where your music goes, being able to control your fan base, being able to control your creative. Because as artists, that's where we shine. That's why people love us. They love what we do. They love how we make our stuff. They love the process. We love Lil Wayne because, he has that lighter in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? In the beginning of the songs, it's exactly. All right. We love that.
Yeah.
What if someone took that from us?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
You know what
true.
I'm saying?
That's
That's the
true.
pro, like being able to just be yourself. You know what I'm saying? With no filters.
Yeah.
That's one of the
Yeah.
pros I respect about
What you
being
think,
That's true.
Tanya?
independent.
That's true.
Being an independent artist, what you say is one of the pros, or even not even just an independent artist, just being
independent.
independent, whether
Period.
you're entrepreneur,
Yeah.
what you think is
Well,
one
I think being an independent, it's a lot of work, right?
definitely.
So,
Yeah.
coming into it, I think that sometimes people might forget how much work
Yeah.
goes into someone who's really like at let's say international level,
Yeah.
right? Some of them have a big machine pumping behind them, and
Yeah.
then they have like a reach
Right.
to a lot of people. They have access to different people. So I would say that maybe that might be the pro on the corporate side if you do a deal. But then nowadays, because there's like social media, there's different platforms,
Right.
you can have access to different things, different rooms. You can meet different people directly
Yeah. Yeah.
that can kind of help you out. You know what I mean? You can negotiate that deal a little differently. So now, as an indie, you have a little bit more like control on how, even if you were, let's say, negotiating with a corporate to get like a distribution deal or a marketing deal, but you keep, you own your own
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
and all the creative
Yeah.
part of it,
Yeah.
Definitely.
you control it.
Yeah.
But because that they have the distribution to the masses,
Yeah.
Exactly.
then you can
exactly.
partner with them, right? So I think you could use it to your advantage these days.
Definitely,
Yeah.
and that's a big topic nowadays. Now, when it comes to music or just being an indie, just being
Yeah.
able to own your own stuff, whether it's your masters, whether it's your rights to your business, whatever it is, just being able to own it. That's a big deal now. It's something that's in style, I would say, quote unquote, right now when it comes to people just being educated on those type of topics, and just to even add to what you're saying, to like being one of the pros of being independent or anything like that, is just the fact that when you're independent, you have control over everything that you do.
Yes.
Right?
For
And
sure.
then it gives you a lot of bargaining power when it comes to taking it to the marketplace or to the masses. You understand? And you get the opportunity now to even have a voice in your business, or have a voice in whatever you're doing when it comes to your craft, your business. I'm talking up from the perspective of being an artist, because I'm an artist, and I know when it comes to being signed to a major label versus being indie, a major label controls a lot of your content, what you say, what you do, who you market to, and they have a lot of power over you, when you basically have to sit back and just watch things go into place and be placed here and there, versus being an indie. You get the opportunity to market how you want to market, put out when you want to put out, dress how you want to dress, express yourself how you want to express yourself, deal with any form of content you want to deal with. So I think it's a big difference, and it's a big thing when it comes to indie versus major.
Corporate. Yeah,
Major.
yeah.
It's definitely a big thing, and that's something we definitely have to be behind when it comes to being any type of creative. Something that we need to be aware of, I should say.
Yeah, definitely. I think that with India, the opportunity, I think, moving forward in the future is that if you like, as an artist, you build your fan base, it's your fan base.
Yes.
Correct.
100%.
And the people will let you know whether things are going to move and shake and make things happen. So you can leverage that if anybody wants to collaborate with
Exactly.
you, or sponsorship even, right? So it's more of that they would tend to align with what you're doing and your values and what you're trying to push out
Exactly.
in order to be able to sell the product. You know what I
Definitely.
mean? So
And there's so much grounds to cover when it comes to that topic, and next thing we're definitely getting to is networking, that's which is super super important, as any indie business or any business period.
Yep.
Networking,
Yep.
and marketing, all these things are super important, and it's something that we definitely have to get into, and definitely discuss. Deal.
But that's like the benefit sometimes of having like a corporate backing, like
Yeah.
you don't have to do the networking, because networking is not easy. You know
No.
what I'm saying? Some member, there's creatives and entrepreneurs and people that don't like to talk to people, like
Yeah.
we're antisocial. So the networking aspect becomes difficult, and like you said, we need networking to sell. You know what I'm saying? So maybe like a pro of a corporate, or somebody like with money behind you, is they're gonna do the networking for you. They're
Yeah.
the social people. They'll be like, hey, this is my guy, Fabrice. He's spraying everything. He's awesome. Like, make sure you listen to him instead of like, because Fabrice, he doesn't talk. Like, he's just like, so like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
You might have someone with
networking.
influence behind you. Yeah.
Exactly. So you have to know, like, with being in the independent entrepreneur, whatever, networking, you have to develop those skills. It's mandatory to develop those skills.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
can't be antisocial if you're going to be in business, period. If you want to be by yourself. Otherwise, yeah, go get a deal.
Or I would say maybe like as an indie,
Or get a manager, right?
get a manager
Someone to
or a
talk for you.
PR person to help you with that aspect of it if you're
Oh,
not
yeah.
good at it, right? And and that way it could open up doors to like different places that you may not normally go to, right? So sometimes like socially you have a go-to place where you're comfortable
Yes.
in,
Yes.
but a lot of the times those are not the places where you're gonna meet the money makers that's
No.
gonna make and
Exactly.
shake, right? You know what I mean? That's why like a lot of just corporate business or whatever, the golf course was, a popular thing just
yes.
because you would just meet everybody and anybody who does and
Anything
moves
and
and shakes
everything.
and
Yeah,
everything,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
But you would
Good
never really
analogy.
meet them anywhere else. I remember watching an interview with E40, and he was like, you know why I go to the games and I'm sitting like by the court side? Obviously, he can afford it because he's been in the game forever, right?
Yeah.
But it's still a principle, right? Is kind of a gem for me that he's there because he knows he's going to be sitting with the Silicon Valley execs, the millionaire, billionaires, or
Yeah.
so what's up on the next technology? So, but they're at a game, right?
Yeah.
So usually they know who he is.
Right.
So they're like, oh, I'm a big fan. Oh, you listen to me? Oh,
Yeah,
I
exact-
would never guess that you listen to me because you're a nerd tech guy,
Yes.
right?
And speaking of E40, he's a smart man. He actually owns like burger shops and stuff. Like, he's not just a rapper. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, he's
he's a
serious in the business
rapper,
game, yeah.
and he
Entrepreneur.
owns
Yeah.
like burger
A
shops
lot.
in LA.
Yeah.
Like
A
a
lot.
franchise owner of a lot of burger shops.
Chris Brown too. There's a lot of
You know
them.
what I'm
that
saying?
There's
owns
a lot of them, yeah.
I think-
Cameron owns a waffle shop.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of these rappers, they're just not sticking to like the basis of being a rapper. Like, they're
Yeah.
using their funds to fund other companies. But I guess we can
They're
elaborate
spread out.
that.
Yeah,
a
in
little
other
bit later.
episodes,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
You know?
But one of the things that I want us to jump into is like the power for an independent person on social media, yo.
Oh.
I mean, like back in the
There's
day,
nothing like it.
Back in the
yeah.
day, when you were as an artist, you had to, if you got signed to a major label, they did all your marketing, they did all your distribution and stuff like that. But right now, artist, singer, dancer, whatever form of creative you are, yo, social media is the thing now. We're living in a social time now where everybody is using social media.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the power of social media and the marketing power when it comes to
There's
social
so many, I mean, because people are visual, and if you're like into visual stuff, let's say if you're a graphic designer, right? And then you want to market your stuff and you want to gain clients, well, you just put up all your work and you have your portfolio on your work on Instagram, and you can tag different people, you can send it to people, you can DM people, you can send it. So there's so many like avenues. I mean, that's one example, as
What
a
about
makeup
you
artist.
with selflove.co, like using social media as a platform, how do you reach out, you know what I'm saying, to people to sell your candles and stuff, like, or what do you think your idea would be when it comes to that?
You know what I've come to learn, because I watch other YouTubers and other Instagram and I study other people as well that are successful, you know what I mean? Build a story behind your brand, right? And go with that story. And then it's not only just posting my product, but there's a story behind the product. There's a reason why, there's a purpose to it. So the pictures, and then sort of like there's different images creating an ambiance, what it would feel like, what would remind you of certain smells, etc. You know what I mean? So you really have to think outside of the box
Yes,
Right.
to
to
promote your
engage people so they can relate to what you're talking about. So I think that goes for across the board, really.
Yeah.
So you're not
You know what
just
I mean?
so you're not just picking up a candle and taking a picture and throwing it on the ground. You're actually building some sort of like rapport around that coffee smell. Like maybe someone's sipping a coffee and you just have the
I think he
candle
likes
there
the coffee
burning.
smell, yo.
No, I love the coffee because it would
Nice
hit
talk,
me,
good talk.
dog.
Yeah.
My eyes opened like whoa. I just it was the caffeine hit my eyeballs, dog, when I
Yo,
smelled that.
It's the truth right here.
No, I'm telling you, but
gotta
yeah,
forget
so
this.
you're saying that art, like independents or creatives and entrepreneurs, they need to build something around the brand that they're.
Yeah.
What about a rapper? How does a rapper do that though? Q, like you're a rapper, like how do you build a story behind like say a release?
For me, for release, we going project or single?
Say 21. How did you promote that project through social media?
Or for 21. So social media, it basically advanced a lot from when it now started to now. There's a lot of science that goes into marketing now. And with Facebook taking over Instagram, everything is paid. So there's paid advertisement, there's paid promotion and stuff like that too.
That's right, the ads,
So
yeah.
so you run your ads. You run your ads on Facebook. You run your ads on Instagram as well too. You start off with a budget that you could afford, and you start promoting your stuff. One of the things that I do too, I also get some of my friends to share it on their storyline and
Yeah,
on Facebook,
that's right, that's right.
Instagram, so it reaches more people, in that type of way. And you push. You have to push. It's a constant push. Being an indie artist, you have to be constantly behind your brand. You have to be constantly coming up with ideas, marketing ideas. Whether, like for instance, recently with X-Cosign, one of the things that we did, we had a promotion where we give away a couple pieces of merch and a $50 Amazon card, and we had a marketing strategy behind it where, you follow this, you tag this, and, we raffled it out, and, so you have to be innovative and find different ways how to market your song. Some people do like little documentary videos.
Right.
Charge it to my tongue, not my heart, right?
That's all right.
Those type of things, to do marketing, to give a story, as you said before, to give a story behind the single, so people could be more connected with it. So that's definitely one of the things that or some of the things that I would do when it comes to marketing a single and stuff like that. As an indie, you sign, you have a bigger budget, then there's so much.
But the key
lazy,
is
bro.
to
I'm
be
not
consistent.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Consistency.
work.
But yeah, 100%.
It's a lot of work.
Consistency,
For
right?
sure. With anything,
Yes.
right?